Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else, don't make me turn this website around.
Now, our next caller, his name's Joshua, but he wants to ask you, Matt, how you feel about a scoring system or a point system in religious debates between atheists and theists. So I'm interested to see what he's talking about.
All right. Welcome, Josh. What's your idea?
Hey, how you doing? John, Matt. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Can't complain, man.
So
All right,
what's your idea?
What's your idea for...
No, go ahead.
Sorry. No, we were just asking you what is your idea for scoring debates?
So, I really just, I think I understand Matt's position, Matt, your position on this, but I wouldn't want to straw man it. But from my understanding, it just seems more or less like people would be more reluctant to have a debate when it comes to having a scoring system because it would make it obvious as to what's happening. But and I actually, and I've always agreed with that up until I saw this debate with that dude Dawkins. He debated Shannon a while ago, and she did very good in that debate. It was her first debate, if I'm not mistaken. She did extremely well, but he's from a time where the person who talks the loudest wins the argument. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, I don't look at debates as a win-lose proposition, but to the extent that you could look at debates as a win-lose proposition, it's up to each individual to have whatever criteria they win on. Darth Dawkins may think that if he talks the loudest or the longest that he's won, but I don't think that's the case.
No, yeah, I totally understand. But from the viewer's perspective, maybe it just might be my thing, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is. I just got so hurt because Shannon, I love Shannon, man, and watching her have to put up with him being so ridiculous, was just wow. And it would
but I count that as a win.
Helpful to have
I would count that as a win. When decent people watch something like that, they know who they're going to side with. But at the end of the day, my purpose in doing debates is to get information out and to express my view on something as best I can, and hopefully in a way that might be persuasive to some people. Literally, you could go through every debate I've ever done. Someone will claim I've won every one of them, and someone will claim I've lost every one. And my take on it is that I think that there was one debate that I will freely acknowledge that I did not perform up to par and would not have claimed any kind of win. But I also don't care about a win. Now, on the scoring thing, there are scored debates, and not just collegiate debate structures where they're doing it 4 points and this. I've seen debates where the audience votes before and after on the proposition to show whether or not someone's been persuasive. The only reason I'm not a fan of it, I agree that you raised a concern that I hadn't really thought of, which is if people know they're going to be scored, maybe they don't want to debate because then all of a sudden it'll be on there, oh, Matt Dillahunty has lost every single debate and every scored thing. There may be people who don't want to do that. And I hadn't really considered that. My reason for rejecting it is that it doesn't matter because the truth isn't in any way impacted by that vote. You can have, and you could set it in front of a different audience each night. Like if I debated the resurrection at Austin Baptist Church against Mike Licona, and there were maybe 700 people there, and they were overwhelmingly Southern Baptist. I think if you polled the audience, I think there might have been some people who changed their mind or felt that I had a better presentation, but by and large, they would have almost universally voted for Mike Licona. And that's because they came in with that belief, and Mike said the things that reinforced it for them, and they're conditioned to reject, what I say. Meanwhile, you take that exact same debate with every word the same, and play it in front of a crowd at the American Atheist Convention, and all of a sudden I whooped ass and took names. And because that's the way it's going to go most often, I have no interest in that kind of scoring. I'd rather each individual is going to make up their own mind anyway.
Right. So that's actually my thing. Like I totally understand that a person comes into the debate looking for their the person they want to win, but it's okay. It's like if two people were to go to some sports ball game, right? And one person's voting for one team, another's voting for the other, and the game is close. The game ends on a 1 to 2 point difference, right? Like both of these people could go home and almost rightfully say that their team won. My team dunked more, but okay, so it's a team called the Spurs. I remember back in the day when Tim Duncan played on the Spurs. I'm pretty sure you don't know these sports ball guys, but
I
would play.
I know Tim Duncan.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know of Tim Duncan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, they would play like typically like fundamental basketball, right? And say they play some like high flying team that dunks all the time, but the Spurs actually win by 1 or 2 points. It would be hard to tell if there was no scoring system in place who actually won. Now, regardless of that, right? I just feel like not regardless. I'm sorry, but I just feel like it would be a more fulfilling ending to have here's a question that was asked, and the opponent avoided that question or dismissed that question or blah blah.
I agree.
Right, and
I
that person loses or gains a point based on their reaction or whatnot. At the end, you end up with a score.
I don't know how you get to a point. What were you going to say, John?
Well, I was just going to say, I think that there's a bit of a mix-up here because, I mean, like in a professional debate setting, that's exactly what you have.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, you've got. Well, I mean, in a professional debate kind of thing, like I'm talking about like high school debate teams where they go to tournaments or whatever and they debate. There's legit like scoring that goes on there. If you drop a point, like you fail to respond to somebody's point that they brought up, that's considered a drop, and it's pretty it weighs pretty negatively on your side. So that's in the more of a professional debating kind of situation, but what I feel like you're talking about is like professional scoring on the like modern day debate type of debates, where it's a lot less formal. It's more of just the open discussion kind of portion of what we would generally have in a debate. I kind of get the feeling that that's what you're talking about instead of like a structured formal debate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah,
I try to do that.
It's almost like the moderator is so like I don't even know the word to use. He's so in the middle, like he doesn't really like contribute at all. You know what I mean? Like there are times where I feel like the moderator should maybe step in and could you answer this question before you go down this rabbit hole, please? You know what I mean? But it just never does that.
So if you go look up, if you do a Google search for debate scoring, what you'll find is the scoring mechanism from the national speech and debate organizations on, it's X percent is on style and X percent is on strategy. And so the reason they can score those is because what they'll do is they give you a debate on a particular subject. And because we already know a great deal about those subjects, we know which strategies are good and which strategies are not good. And so what you end up seeing is kind of the same thing over and over again. If you really want to earn points in a debate, in a non-literal sense, you can do what I do, which is every time my opponent refuses to address the question or the topic, I make sure I point it out. You go back, you look at the last few debates I've done at Modern Day Debates. I did one recently on whether or not Jesus fulfilled prophecy. My opponent could not express a single specific prophecy and show how they knew it was a prophecy.
Yep, no,
and then they couldn't show what
Yep.
fulfilled it or how. The closest they could do is say, Isaiah 53 talks about a suffering servant. That seems a little like Jesus. I'm going to claim it's prophecy. That was literally as close as they could get to a single prophecy. When I did the debate on Pascal's wager,
yeah,
my opponent didn't seem to know or care about what Pascal's wager actually said and went on about different things. And so anytime my opponent refuses to address the topic, I make sure I mention it once or twice, not because it's going to get me actual points like in a scoring system, but because those are real points that should matter. If somebody's sitting out there and they're actually being an honest listener and they hear me say, okay, give me one prophecy, and my opponent can't do that, even if they're a theist, that should weigh heavily. They should be saying, this guy didn't know the topic well enough, and the same thing with Pascal's wager and the other stuff.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, man. And I don't want to hold you guys up any much more longer. I just wanted to say, you not watching a single episode of the Power Rangers doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, but you know where I'm going with it.
Well,
it might make me a bad person. You'd have to prove it. But in debates, I work to score the points that are real. I want to score the points that are real in a debate, the things that should matter, not the style things. And this is why I'm in a private email group with some prominent debaters. And if you polled us, and we are all atheists, and said, hey, did Christopher Hitchens win that debate against William Lake Craig? I think it would be almost unanimous, no. Because we care enough about the debate and everything else that while we all loved Hitch, and I wish I had his vocabulary, and he was certainly entertaining in debate, he had a bad habit of getting sloshed, not addressing what his opponent actually said, and then just going with whatever shtick was going to earn him applause with the atheists. And we all agreed with him. It's like, yeah, talk smack about how bad the Bible is. But that doesn't mean that you actually participated in and won a debate. I think Hitchens lost that debate. And I think that Sean Carroll won that debate against Bill Craig.
Yeah, he did. I watched that debate. Yeah, I totally agree. But that's exactly what I meant about the whole, you got a high-flying team that dunks, and you got this other team that just plays the fundamentals. And Sean Carroll did win that debate, hands down. I mean, I watched it. I agree with Chris.
It's my favorite moment.
But yeah,
to pull up a scientist on video to basically say, Craig doesn't know shit about my theory. That's paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he did. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say,
move on to other callers. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no! I was just going to say one thing that I like to do in debates is whenever my opponent brings up some kind of logic that seems really wacky to me, I try to get them to think about applying their logic to other situations and what that would mean. And I feel like that's kind of demonstrating how illogical whatever they're talking about is, at least, demonstrating it for the audience. As far as winning points with the audience goes. Because, there's potential that you can get, your opponent to say some horrible things, depending on whatever question you're talking about. You can get them to admit that, like, well, yes, that would mean this is a good thing when it's obviously a horrible thing. So I feel like moments like that can really help. But of course, I'm very much an amateur. Matt is more the professional here.
Only in the sense that people have paid me.
But he definitely is.
By the way, there was a person in chat that wanted me to debate Kent Hovind, and I'll tell you real quickly, the answer to that's no. And there's two reasons for that. One is that his ministry is in shambles, and I'm not going to do anything to help promote him at this point. But the other one was when he got out of prison, a representative claiming to be speaking on his behalf reached out to me and asked me if I would debate Kent Hovind. And I said, yes, I will, provided we don't debate creationism versus evolution. I want to debate some doctrine of Christianity, and I want the debate to be available to the public for free. You can still try and sell a copy afterwards, but I want it to be available to the public for free. and I never heard from them again because they want to make money.
Oh.
And as long as I'm the bigger
of
fish,
course,
which
Matt.
is the case with Kent, I'm not going to give him the chance to make money off.
Yeah, I totally understand, man. But I don't want to hold you guys up any longer, man. I really genuinely appreciate you guys answering my question. And you guys have a great night, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joshua.
All right, no, thank you, Joshua. I hope you have a great night, and I hope you'll call in again.
Absolutely, man. You guys have a good one.
And I think we have more
All right,
on
you
this
too.
subject.
Yep. Our next caller actually would like to talk about the subject as well. But yeah, I like your advice for that though, Matt, about making sure that you point out all the flaws and how they didn't actually address your point. I think that's really good tip right there. But like I said, I'm still the amateur. Anything? Yeah.
Don't worry about it. So, for example, Andrew Seidel did a debate, and I told him, because he contacted me beforehand, because we're close, and I was like, oh man, you got railroaded because of the format and all this other stuff. But they tried to make him look bad during the debate. And he had emails from them that basically said, look, during the cross-examination, look at it as like a knockdown, drag-out fight type of thing. And the time belongs to the questioner, but you guys should go at each other and all this stuff. That's what they sent him and told him to do. And then when he did it, his opponent tried to do this. Hang on a minute. Didn't we discuss this where I'm going to get to do my time and you're going to get to do your time and all this other stuff? And they tried to make it look like he was being obstinate when he was doing exactly what they asked for. And he pointed it out during the debate. And he pointed it out afterwards. And everybody keeps doing that. I've done so many of these. And the person I really talked to as well is Dan Barker, because he's done more than any of us. But it's one of those things where I can't count the number of times where the topic that I was told was going to be the topic ultimately wasn't what we wound up talking about, because everybody wants to talk about morality instead, or they just decided, oh, we're not really going to talk about prophecy or slavery in the Bible. We're going to talk about, how atheism can't have a moral foundation or whatever. Point that out every single time. And I've gotten to the point where when I'm on modern day debates, which may never happen again, we're not sure yet. I told them I was done, and it depends on whether or not they change some of their policies. Not because I'm worried that somebody in chat will call me a Nazi. They do. It's not a big deal. But if that's what your chat is, I don't know why I should participate. I mean, I want to actually have a discussion. And if I keep going to modern day debates and my opponents don't address the topic and the chat just wants to call me names, I mean, at that point, I'm just showing up for a free paycheck.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on that. My wife also agrees with you on the staying away from the MDD. But honestly, I actually had a debate with Kent Hovind. I was really distressed over the fact that he didn't want to talk about like the possibility of a global flood. He just talked about whale penis the entire time. So, that was a pretty big letdown right there. A great meme on my channel though got born from that, so I'm very grateful for that.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.